I've been trying to decide whether or not I should repot my creme de menthe that I got from Carter Holmes. And this morning, while I was attempting to water my vanilla, I knocked it off the table. So I guess the decision has been made for me. Thankfully, it looks like both the spikes made it. It's in Pro Mix actually right now, and I am going to repot it into sphagnum moss. Since I'm having to repot, now I get to decide whether or not I'm going to keep it in the same size pot, so this is the pot that it fell out of, or whether I should go one pot size up. It's a good size pot, and actually I would not have repotted if it hadn't fallen out, but since it has, now I can decide if I want to give it a little bit more room for its roots. I have a lot of clear pots that I bought from Chula Orchids like a decade ago when I was buying clear pots, and I don't even know if he's still in business, but obviously I haven't used them all up. They do break down over time just like regular plastic pots, and crack and break, and I have to throw them out, but still have a few. And I generally prefer to pot into clear pots. I like to see my roots. It's not to say that I don't pot into opaque pots. As you can see, I have plenty of opaque pots. And there's another one on my shelves. See, opaque pots up there. But I like the semi-opaque of semi-hydro. I like to be able to see my roots. And also, many of the orchids I'm growing are epiphytes. And there have been studies that show that some epiphytes do photosynthesize through their roots to some extent. So, giving them some sunlight through the side is beneficial. And so that's why I like the semi-translucent plastic pots. So here we go. We have, let's see, this one's probably too small. Let's see, too small. I think this is the size I'm going to go to right here. I also have this size right here. Let's see if it's any good. Yeah, I probably want to go to the next size, just to get as much of the roots in as possible. But not too big. I actually have even larger pots than this that are clear, but not a lot of plants get that big. Or, they do, but I don't have room to grow them, so I end up not potting into them. And I actually got a whole bunch of pots for like 10 cents each when Oak Hill Gardens went, well, they didn't go out of business, but they closed, and it's bought them on sale. So that was a good deal. I have a long grain sphagnum moss. That's what I'm gonna put this into. I have other sphagnum moss that has shorter pieces that I could also use, but this is the stuff that I already have wet that's in my bucket. So, it comes dry, and I'll wet it down, hydrate it, and this stuff is all ready to use. I got my sphagnum moss from Nat's Orchids in Naperville. So in repotting, I don't take off roots unless they're actually rotting. So if you look at some of these roots, they are dark, especially down here. So you see that they're dark. And if they're firm and I have gone through and squished them, then I don't take it off. That's just discoloration. It's not rot, and it's not going to spread. I know people talk about peroxide and all kinds of things to keep mold and fungus at bay. And in general, I just don't have problems with that. Usually cutting, introducing foreign, well, I don't want to say parasites because bacteria is not really a parasite, but introducing infection bi-cutting is worse than just leaving it alone. The plant is obviously already keeping it at bay, and this, really was in great shape. It's just, had an accident. So I'm going to leave all these roots, even though they are not green, because even those dark roots are firm and they're just fine. Okay, so the actual repotting, I am gonna put moss in loosely. I use moss, but I don't pack it tight because I want my epiphytic orchid roots to have room to breathe. So I just very gently put in some at the bottom because I actually like to have my water wick up from a saucer underneath my Phalaenopsis. And then I very gently gonna pack moss in around these vigorous roots. So the goal here is to not have it be very tight. These are some very firm roots. So I'm not going to bend or break the roots because, again, I don't want to introduce any routes by which bacteria or fungus or anything could get inside my plant. As long as everything is whole, the outside of the plant acts as a barrier between infectious agents and the plant itself. So really, to cut off disease sections, unless it's really bad and it's spreading like wildfire, I like to leave my barriers intact and let the plant do its thing. So let's see, very loosely in there. I need a little bit more push, and I don't want to break any of my spikes because I've got 2 of them. I would like them to actually, well, let's see, can we encourage you to go in the pot? Go in the pot. So this is how I use moss. It's not, again, it's not tightly packed. It's very loosely placed so that basically I'm going to be able to provide a moist environment, but there's still going to be a lot of air movement to allow the orchid to breathe. And the other thing I like about these pots, and I wish I knew where to find them now that, or I don't know if Chula Vista is still in business, but it has these slits on the side for more air movement, and then highlighted right here in black marker. But I really like these slitted side pots. So that's it. There is my repotted orchid, Phalaenopsis creme de menthe, after its accidental fall this morning. Just give it a tiny bit more. Want everything to have access to moisture providing moss. There we go. So one root is still outside. All done.